But Tony, you really shouldn't be in here.
Of course I shouldn't.
Why are you then?
Because you're in love with me.
Am I?
Well, you said so yourself.
The latest trailers for Downton Abbey, the grand finale, have stirred up all kinds of feelings, partly because they're holding back on showing one of the most essential characters in the entire franchise. This movie is being marketed as the final chapter for Downton Abbey, although knowing Julian Fellowes, there's always a tiny chance he might revisit these characters later on. Still, this is supposed to be the big send-off that ties up all those major storylines we've followed for so long. From what's been shown, the grand finale seems a lot more focused on the upstairs lives of the Crawleys than on the bustling world downstairs. It looks like Lady Mary, played by Michelle Dockery, is finally stepping fully into her father Lord Grantham's shoes, taking on the responsibility of running Downton. But this transition doesn't look like it's going to be easy. Between a looming social scandal and the crushing financial realities of the 1930s, the Crawleys' wealth and status are seriously threatened. There's even the suggestion that they might have to say goodbye to Downton altogether. If it actually comes to that, what happens to all the loyal staff who have kept the estate running for decades? The maids, cooks, butlers, and footmen aren't just employees, they're practically the heart of Downton. Without them, the house would be nothing. So it's only natural to wonder what the future holds for them if the Crawleys are forced to move on. At least we know that for one particular former staff member, things might already be settled. But does that mean he won't really matter in this last story? It's impossible not to notice that Thomas Barrow hasn't popped up at all in either the teaser or the full trailer for the grand finale. Robert James Collier is definitely confirmed to be back for this movie, reprising his complex role as Thomas. But it's a little odd because nearly everyone else, both the Crawley family members and most of the household staff, can be spotted somewhere in these sneak peeks. Interestingly, we do see Dominic West's Guy Dexter, the Hollywood actor introduced in a new era. Guy's connection to Thomas was one of the most heartfelt surprises in that last film. After spending nearly his entire life battling loneliness and the brutal stigma surrounding his sexuality, Thomas finally found someone who cared for him. So, since Guy is back in the spotlight, you'd assume Thomas wouldn't be far behind. Looking back, Thomas actually ended a new era on the highest note we'd ever seen for him. He left Downton to become Guy's personal assistant, or as everyone could politely understand it at the time, his housekeeper. It was the perfect cover for the romantic relationship they were beginning, especially given how dangerous it still was to be openly gay. Thomas got to step away from the relentless tension at Downton, finding not just a new life, but love, which he had all but given up on. So, knowing all that, where is he in the marketing for the grand finale? It could just be that the movie is intentionally keeping Thomas's role hidden for now. Maybe they want to surprise audiences with how he factors into the final chapter. Still, it does make you a little anxious, hoping nothing tragic happens to spoil the happy ending Thomas earned. If anything, we'd all prefer he gets to keep living that new life, maybe dropping by to see old friends, sharing a smile and reminding everyone how far he's come. One clue comes from the trailer, which shows Guy performing in what looks like a lavish West End production in London. Anna, Bates, and Baxter are even spotted in the audience, applauding like crazy. So it stands to reason that Thomas is close by, either waiting backstage or back at Guy's London residence. It just wouldn't feel right for Guy to be there without Thomas nearby. Now, Thomas being largely absent so far doesn't have to mean something grim. Maybe he really does just have a smaller part this time, enjoying his new life and only crossing paths with the old Downton crew briefly. Since the grand finale seems to be zeroing in on the fate of Downton itself, who controls it, whether it survives, Thomas's personal journey might simply not be front and center anymore. He accomplished what he set out to do, become the butler of Downton, and then finally walk away on his own terms to embrace love. That's a huge deal for him. Still, it would be nice if the film gave Thomas at least a few strong scenes. After everything he went through across all 6 seasons of the show and 2 prior movies, he deserves a farewell that feels as richly earned as anyone else's. Hopefully, if he's going to reappear at Downton at all, it'll be under happy circumstances. maybe just catching up with Carson or enjoying a quiet moment with Anna and Bates. Meanwhile, the rest of the movie promises a whole bunch of fresh drama. The latest full trailer dives even deeper into what's coming. One of the biggest shocks is learning that Lady Mary is now officially divorced from Henry Talbot. Fans had wondered why Henry was absent from A New Era, and now it's confirmed. He and Mary are done. That sets up an entirely new story for her, especially since divorce in 1930s England was still pretty scandalous. It puts her in a risky social position right when she's supposed to be the head of Downton. That alone could be the film's biggest source of tension. But there's more bubbling beneath the surface. The trailer hints at Lord Grantham wrestling with his own private struggles, while Cora's brother Harold shows up with what looks like bad news. And all the while, the shadow of money troubles and shifting times hangs heavy over the estate. The Crawleys are standing on the edge of a new decade, trying to figure out if they can adapt, or if they're doomed to be left behind. Even though Thomas hasn't shown up yet, there's still so much to be excited about. Watching Mary navigate her new life as a divorcee and seeing how that changes the social landscape of Downton will be fascinating. Then there's the question of how long Mr. Carson can keep holding on to his duties as butler, or whether it's finally time for him to step aside for good. Anna and Bates seem happier than ever, but with Downton, there's always the chance that something unexpected might pop up for them too. All these open threads are what make the grand finale feel so promising. It's being framed as the grand goodbye, so there's every reason to expect we'll get satisfying resolutions across the board. And even if it does end up being the last chapter for these characters, it's kind of comforting to know that Fellowes has left the door just slightly cracked. Who knows? Maybe down the road there could be another small return to this world. But if this truly is the end, it looks like it's going to be a heartfelt and fitting one. Until then, it's actually pretty fun to speculate about where everyone might land. Will Mary manage to keep Downton afloat despite the whispers behind her back? Could Robert finally let go of some of his old world fears and embrace change? Will Thomas show up on Guy's arm at a society event, proudly living his truth? Or might he just visit the old halls of Downton one last time to reminisce with Carson? No matter how it all plays out, one thing is clear. Downton Abbey the grand finale still has plenty of secrets up its sleeve, and that's part of the joy. It means we'll walk into the theater still guessing, still hoping, and still ready to say goodbye in the best way possible by spending just a little more time with these characters who have meant so much for so long. So for now, we're left to wait and watch for the next little teaser or interview snippet. With every new glimpse, it feels like we're being invited back home for one last visit, where we'll get to see how this incredible journey finally wraps up. Whatever surprises are still hidden away, it's safe to say most of us are more than happy to be along for the ride. And that's that for today's video. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.